Hi there. We're going to try this again. This is Jim the Keys, bartender, coming to you from Key Largo. It is March 27th, Friday, quarter after 8. I know I'm a couple minutes late. I apologize. We had a little difficulty doing our podcast. Right now, I'm sure everyone in everyone in the world, this is one thing that's really unique right now. Everyone's going through the same thing right now. So if you're listening, thank you. Obviously, if you're not listening, you're not even going to see or hear that. But if you have any questions, we are available. If you go to Spreaker, if you're listening live, and you can go, there's a chat app if you can figure out how to do that. Right now, the Keys are closed for business to vacationers, and it's the Monroe County Sheriff's Department set up roadblocks at mile marker 112.5, which is the Miami-Dade line and Monroe County line, and there's a marina there, and they have a turnaround there. So they've been turning cars around that don't have legitimate business, people that are sightseeing and things like that. And I guess they're doing it on 905. That's the alternate entrance that comes down 905. It splits off to the left if you're heading down to the Keys and goes down down here near Ocean Reef in the far north of the Keys, and then heads down a Route 905, and they'll have a blockade there. So if you don't have a Monroe County residency sticker, a lot of people still have them left over from Irma, a license that has a Monroe County address or a utility bill that has it, or you have legitimate business down here, you'll be turned around by Monroe County Sheriff's Department. The feeling is over the last couple of months is that there were a lot of people coming down here from different places. I have noticed, though, that as of today, there were still flights coming into Key West from different parts of the country. So that isn't necessarily being curtailed, but they're like any place else, they're just trying to curtail people from getting, to maintain social distancing, do a kind of a quarantine together, keep people from newly infected, give it a little breather there. So it's March 27th. We're about almost a week into springtime, where it feels like summer here in the Keys. It's in the mid 80s in the daytime. It's sunny. You look up in the sky, you don't see any contrails from flights heading out of Miami, going to South America, Mexico, and all places like that. And you look on the highway, and it looks like our slow season, September. And there's very few people outside their houses. I'm going to go in a little deeper about what we're doing in our time, since we got last Friday was my last day of work at the restaurant. There was a lot of people in the local restaurants down here. They thought they were going to make a go of it, having to-go orders, takeout, maybe run a little delivery. But the Monroe County, Monroe County is about 60% service industry, either people working in service industry or the industries that supply them and feed off the tourist. So when that well goes dry, there's little extra money out there for people to dine out. So the first week we had here, since I think it started on Tuesday, Wednesday of last week, the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and I'm sure other people in the country have noticed, there was a run on toilet paper and pasta and things like that. And it was actually started on Sunday or Saturday. And a lot of people had the feeling that people were running down here from Miami and the mainland and raiding our stores for supplies. which, I mean, that's what you do if there's a short supply. You go where it needs to go. I'm sorry. I have bad seasonal allergies. I always have a lot of phlegm when that happens, but I am drinking coffee now. I'm doing well, and it sounds like as I'm sick, but I am not. And we've been having since we were talking about the restaurants closing, that my restaurant shut down on Thursday early at 7 o'clock, and then we opened up on Friday just to do takeout orders, and we had maybe 9 orders that day. And I guess the owners, and as they should have realized, they did, that that wasn't going to be enough volume to maintain a viable business for the short term right now. So they decided to close down, as well as a lot of other restaurants. I think that from what I think they're doing is trying to run down their stores, so they don't have, they're not sitting with a lot of stock, perishable stock on hand. And what the owners of the restaurant I had, they turned over a lot of their stock to the workers there and donated as much as they can. So it's slowly, we got more restaurants closing down. We still have our local stores open. The government buildings are shutting down. They're practicing social distancing. Most of all the churches, and you'll see obviously the supermarkets open and the convenience stores. And you see it's just beautiful weather down here, but there's no tourists. And this is this time of year. You see tons of boats out. You see people going out on boats because there's people that have boats here. But you go down the street. So my family, we realized that we're not going to do so well just being holed up here. So we had to go out and do things. And besides going on the water and doing those things, we know we needed a little exercise. So what I did is I went to a local secondhand bike store at a U-Haul place north of me on mile marker. I guess it's right near Adams Cut in Key Largo. There's a place called Jack's Bikes, and he sells secondhand bikes. And I went up there, and I always purchase my bikes there. I don't buy brand new bikes because if I get them stolen, I'm not going to worry about my property and stuff like that. So what I do is get these bikes that just get me around. So I bought a bike for $90 when it was, we call them almost like a Keys cruiser bike. When it was short cruises with the handlebars, a black bike. It has the fenders, so when it rains or we get to the rainy season, that the water's not splashing up my crotch and all that stuff, and it get big enough to handle me. So for the last 6 days, my wife, daughter, and we've been riding. I think today we went about 20 miles out there, and we've been playing tennis, doing some jogging and things like that, and do a lot of cooking from home. So we've spent a lot of time together, about as much time as we spend together when we're on vacation. But we've been actually practicing, doing little different things that during vacation sometimes we would get into little arguments and things like that, but it's not so much now, I guess, because this pandemic has put our relationship in perspective in a nice way. So Abby and I have been riding our bikes in Sky, and we go and explore the neighborhoods. And being such a small town, almost every time we go out, there we see 15, even though there may only see like 30, 40 people, I know about 20 of them by name. And almost everyone I saw today, it was on a first name basis. I saw Howard, one of our regulars. You may have heard about Howard. This guy named JD, another regular who was working on bike path. I had an interesting story about that. We're coming down the bike path, and in the Keys, there's one major highway. It's overseas highway, and they have a really nice bike path up in the Upper Keys, and it's separate from the road. And we're riding down, just taking our, casual time, heading south, heading back to our house after, let's say it's mile 14 of that 16-mile ride. And we're near our elementary school across the street from it. And there's a pickup truck on the bike path, and it's a construction truck. And it's backing down towards us, and it's about 100 yards away. And we notice that, and then he puts his hands up. And as we get closer, he says, get away from this area. There's a swarm of bees. And he was right. We had to veered out like 100 feet from the bike path, and we just seen it. It was thousands of bees. So it's a construction site, and he must have tore up a hive there, and he got the bees all excited. But as we're pulling out to go south, there's a guy heading north, and he's on his cell phone. A guy, a couple years younger than me, he's on his bike just pedaling around, and we're yelling. We're trying to get his attention. The guy on the pickup truck and my wife and I were yelling, saying, slow down, slow down. And he bikes right through the middle of the swarm of bees. And you know what? Nothing happens, And we're like 100 feet away, and there's like 5 bees following me. I'm sure they're out to get me and shit like that. But here's that, small thing. We were practicing our social distancing from our wildlife, which is bees, and they almost got the better of us. So that's one of the things we've seen, and we see a lot of other things. We've noticed that there's a lot of places, must be vacation rentals. There's people that are only here, they're vacation homes, people from the mainland, and decide to make it they just come down here on the weekends. So some of those people aren't coming down. So you see almost half the properties are vacated. Some of them are on the market, so they're currently not occupied. So it is like a ghost town. We could go a mile and not see somebody. But we did see some strange things. We're coming back, and we were at our far north of our trip today, and we're going down one of these side neighborhoods, and we hear a young child yelling, and there's this chubby Asian toddler in his underwear holding on to a chain link fence, yelling at us. And he was chubby. He looked like he was like 60 pounds, but he was like, he was one of those babies from Believe It or Not. You could have wrapped him up and put him on a cover of a Valentine's Day card, and he certainly would look festive. So there's some of the things that have changed down here. Obviously, there's, all the bars are closed, just like in the places, in many of our listeners' places, I'm sure. And if they aren't, maybe you should think about it, because the way to nip this in the bud is to catch it before it's spread. Because what happens once you get in contact, you may not see you not manifest any of the symptoms. And once you start manifest, I'll tell you, if people knew me and stuff like that, they would have thought I had it for the last 4 months. What happens with me is when I'm outside a lot, this coral dust, because the Keys are coral islands, right? Coral reefs, and a lot of the yards and stuff like that are made of pulverized coral rock, and it's just coral dust all over the place. And coral was formerly a living creature, so that coral is protein, and protein is some of the worst things in the world for allergies, just like you have hay fevers and things like that. So coral just really gets me when I'm riding out there, and it's when I finally get in the house and stuff like that. That's when I manifest these things. So it would seem, except for the headache and all those things, it always seems like after I'm running or something like that, I always get this horrible congestion, and I guess people would stay like 50 feet away from me. And in the bar business, they'd always just people I guess the people that come into my place really don't really care that much, because they must think I either have a horrible cocaine habit because I'm always sniffing or something like that. But that's neither here nor there right now. We got bigger fish to fry with this coronavirus. So, just about 5 days, another short story. The last couple days we were buttoning up after we closed the restaurant. A couple of us practicing good social distancing at work, the place I work, the Catch Restaurant in Key Largo, we decided it'd be a good time to paint, get everything ready, get everything shut down, empty everything out, clean out the walk-ins, do a good inventory, take care of things that needed to be done that we can't do when the place is open 7 days a week, and decided to give it a good once-over with paint and get ready for when we reopen, which is whenever. You know, there's going to be a debate on when they should open. Do we start opening when you think it's been long enough, or do you have to wait for actually see results? So that's a debate for health professionals. Health professionals, not for people like Joe Schmo, who everybody considers it'd be good for business to reopen. Yes, of course it'd be good for business. I don't make a lot of money not working, and after we were done doing the paint job at the restaurant, I decided to hit some of the local businesses I thought were looking for workers, and I was kind of torn between going to the local supermarket, because then you're applying for a job and saying, listen, I'm only going to take this job until my job comes back, and then I'm going to quit. So that would be kind of disingenuous, but I think I might be doing that, but who knows. But when I did go, it was the local pizza places, and I went to one that had two, not one, but two help wanted signs. Two help wanted signs. Right on their, one of their side doors and their front door, right as you go in. So after we were done painting, I got cleaned up a little, and I drove down there. And I walked in, and there was this woman who I assumed was either the manager or the owner. And I go in there and say, hey, I noticed you, are you looking for a driver? Because I imagine you don't need someone, you're not looking for someone to make pizzas, because you just put it on your front door. You're looking for help wanted. And you don't need any waiters or anything like that. I thought maybe they need more drivers. And she goes, oh, no, not with this situation or anything like that. And then I go, well, you got two help wanted signs out front. She goes, wow, I forgot that I had them out there. Now, these signs were out there. Now, just follow my reasoning. These signs were out here 6 days. And this is on a pizza place on Route 1. And I asked the woman, I said, well, how many people asked about a job? And she goes, you're the first one. And I said, you mean in 5 days you didn't, or 6 days you didn't realize that you had those signs? No, I forgot about those. So I'm thinking, holy crap. Either there's multiple things in there. Either people, I hope people didn't take any initiative and decided when they were out of work they were just going to not work. Or number two, they were so stigmatized by the idea that they're going to come in contact with other people by doing delivery, and I would hope most people are like that, and they say, oh no, I don't want to take money and get a chance to infect my loved ones, which is the more magnanimous one I hope there is. Or number three, just it's so dead that no one actually walked in to order a pizza there. And this is on Route 1, the main highway in the Keys. But it was funny, 6 days later, and I was the first one to come in there. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that was unusual. So some of the new things that come up there, and I did mention that my family, we're spending a lot of time together, because where are you going to go? You're not going to go and hang out with other people and stuff like that. The people I'm going to hang out with are the people I'm with all the time. So it's just three of us, and since it's us, we've been you know, my daughter's 13 years old, so we're starting to do family meetings, and we do things together. So we did a family meeting the other day, and we just started talking about our expectations about, you know, her social life, how she was going to see her friends, you know, how long it's going to be, you know, if she goes out bike riding, what you know, what is she going to do? No hugging, no, you know, how girls every time they see each other when they're age, you know, hugging and kissing, don't do that. We had that. It worked out. We said how we should talk to each other. If we have anything we need to talk about, we can do. So today we were bugging the daughter to get her up so she's not on the phone the whole time, trying to get her out so she's not indoors all the time talking to her friends on the phone, which is important. The social life is important to a 13-year-old. I understand that, but we also need to get them out, you know, because it changes your attitude if you get out and get a little sun. I know it sucks for you up there in north. Some of these places still snowing up there, and it's cold and miserable and stuff like that. But like down here, at least we have that advantage. There may not be a lot of resources for us down here, things to do or places to order from, but we do have that. So we get her out there, and she we didn't take her on a ride today. We took our dog for a walk, and while we're on the walk, the daughter says, "We need a family meeting." I said, "Okay." So we come back, and I don't. If you're a regular listener, you'll know this. My daughter, when we were in Poland this summer, we went to Poland for a wedding, and my family stayed for about 30 days, and I was there for a little over 2 weeks. And we had a great time over there. But when she came back, she let us know that she was going to be a practicing, I guess a straight out term would be pescatarian. And she only eats fish and vegetables and things like that. She's not eating any meat. And she has adhered to it, like to the T. She even stopped eating, and I didn't know this, Parmesan cheese, because one of her friends told her that part of the lamb or the goat or anything that makes the cheese, part of that in the process of making Parmesan cheese, part of it's an animal product that goes into it, not an animal byproduct, the milk, an animal product from the animal that's not other than milk, actually physical part of the animal. So she stopped eating Parmesan cheese. So whenever we use Parmesan, she switched to Asiago or whatever, mozzarella or something like that. So she sits down with us today, and we have a meeting. She goes, "I think we should cut back down on our sugar, and you know, in our cereals, we should stop getting these salty fried snacks." And we're pretty healthy as it was. My wife and I, you know, I'm a spin instructor, and funny because I got the bike and stuff like that. I'm trying to maintain. I don't want to come back from. I want to come back in the same or better shape when we get back into things. And, you know, obviously it's good to maintain, I digress. It's good to maintain your health through physical activity during this. And just because you're under quarantine doesn't mean you can't go out or do things in your house, do physical activity. When you're saying quarantine, just means you're not mingling with people and you're maintaining that distance. And if you're outside, it's very easy to maintain the 6 feet. You can maintain 20 feet or whatever. You say hi to people. It sucks, I guess, if you're hard of hearing and things like that. But then again, you got phones and all that stuff. Once again, I digress. So she starts talking about the sugar, the thing, and we're just thinking, boy, this works out really good for us. And this came up with her. Now, since she became the pescatarian, we've been doing a lot more of the watching what we're eating, a lot of vegetables, staying away from, you know, but, you know, since she did that, we also started leaning more on pastas and things like that. And she started noticing that, so she asked us to cut that down. And today we went shopping. I got a sale on ribeye, bone-in ribeye. Oh no, it wasn't ribeye. What was it? Not T-bone. Porterhouse. And I got 2 porterhouse steaks for Abby and I. I get kind of like a last hurrah, but also added 2 for 1 on some M&Ms, you know, the caramel and the chocolate peanut ones. And I'm horrible at saying. And I'm learning how to bake now. I mean, one of the byproducts of being quarantined, I'm a pretty decent cook, but I've been messing around with baking now, and you know, bought extra flour and sugar and butter and stuff like that, and I'm starting to make my own, like pound cake or cinnamon bread, and man, that'll fuck up your body image if you're not careful. So I think what we do is like a negotiation. So we're not buying, you know, pretty much didn't buy cookies and pies. We're going to stay away from ice cream. We're only going to get ice cream, you know, when we go out, and we're going to stay away from, you know, chips and things like that. We're going to have to make our own chips out of pita bread or something like that. We're getting away from bleached flour bread instead of the white bread. And, you know, and I guess I opened that Pandora box by doing the family meetings. But thanks a lot, coronavirus. Now I'm on a diet. But you know what? I'm 56 years old, and I guess I could stand to use a couple pounds. So, to cap everything off, I know this was a solo show. I had the opportunity to do a show, but I'm going to be, tomorrow I think I'm going to be doing a show with Steve. We're going to do it over the phone, maintaining a social distancing. I haven't been, maybe I could talk to Joe. Joe would be, and Jenna, but we're going to try to do the responsible thing, and I hope it's entertaining. There's not a lot of things I could talk about. The thing, obviously, there's a big thing I left out there, and I guess maybe I should talk about it. I'll just throw this in the end on listeners. And I am a recovering alcoholic, and in December of this year, I decided I had been sober for 7 years, and right before Christmas, I decided to practice sobriety again. And I do that by working a 12-step program. And it works well for me. It's not for everyone. But as a father and a husband and a responsible member of society, I just couldn't keep on doing what I needed to do. I couldn't fulfill my obligation. I wasn't fulfilling my expectations I had for myself. I didn't think I was getting things done that I needed to do. I believe my behavior was getting bad. I believe I was being irresponsible with my consumption of alcohol. I thought that, you know, when the more I use, the more careless I get, and that included even driving under the influence sometimes. Though it was definitely not as serious as it was over 20 years ago, when I was probably, you know, that was the young guy drinking thing, but I mean, it's a progressive disease. It is a progressive disease, and if it's one of those things you cannot judge another person about. It may look like it or anything like that, but try to tell somebody they need to stop drinking, and that's very hard to do. But you know when you need to stop drinking, and I needed to stop drinking, and my life is so much better for it. I'm not a prohibitionist. Obviously, I'm not a prohibitionist. I'm a bartender. But I do practice sobriety because it's very important to me to be able to make my own decisions and not have my consumption or my need to consume alcohol making decisions for me, making decisions why, like, if right now, if I had to go out and jump in a car and go someplace, I could just go and do it and not worry about the repercussions. Living in the Keys, if you drink on a regular basis and drive, you will eventually get nabbed. You will. I mean, you'll get in an accident sometime or anything. Some of the, some very well-known people down here, it happens, and I've seen it happen in Philadelphia. I knew higher ranking police officers, stuff like that, get in accidents. Sometimes they're lucky enough to have officers that are, you know, looking out for them, you know, take care of them and make sure that they don't get in trouble for it. But down here, you will be incarcerated, and it is a major inconvenience, and it's a financial, it's a financial burden to be able to come back from it. And forget about the number one thing, putting someone's life in jeopardy. Someone else's life in jeopardy, putting your family's life in jeopardy, and putting your life in jeopardy. But in that order, you know, try coming back from hurting someone else. So those are the things that came into making my decision for doing that. And it is not as much as a struggle as I thought it would be. I've done this before, but it's not. And with this pandemic, I can understand that people that you're home alone and there's nothing else to do. And for some people, there's no breaks. There's no social breaks on there for stopping your consumption. So what are you to do? You're going to keep on drinking? Just going to drink until you pass out? You're lonely? You can't hang out with your friends and stuff like that. Some people they're just, you know, when you're drinking by yourself, that's when you really have to face it. I'm not trying to tell people what they should or should not do, but if you are trying to be sober, it could be very tough during these times to do that. A lot of the places you used to go to work your group, whatever it is, a 12-step group or any other group that you go to, they could be closing their rooms. A lot of churches are shut down, and a lot of meetings are held in churches. Or, you know, they lease the rooms from people, and they have a strict limit on, you know, the amount of people. And like some of these meetings in the big cities, they used to have hundreds of people go to those. For now, hopefully, if you do have access, and obviously if you're listening to the podcast, you have access to technology, you have access to online meetings. If there's people out there you know that don't have access to the meeting, but they do have, you can help them. If there's a way you can help them, get them some kind of device. Get them a Chromebook. Chromebooks only cost, you can get a used Chromebook for under $100 and stuff like that. Just get that. You know, if someone needs help, you know, at least talk to them. You know, my idea, and there's people that I'm close to, they suggest that when this is all over, there is going to be a big surge, much like you see after the end of wars or big social upheavals. There'll be a big influx of people that feel they have a major problem. And there are places you can go if you feel, and there's always an opportunity to start turning your life around. Listen, and I firmly believe there are people, I know a lot of people, my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, they all, my wife, they can have a couple drinks and they're completely fine, they're normal. I would not try to impose sobriety on people that don't need it. I couldn't in good conscience provide alcoholic drinks to people if I thought it was evil. Alcohol was, in certain times, it's an anesthetic when people had to do operations. It's in a higher alcohol content. It's an antiseptic, you know. So there are a lot of good things, and it's for some people it's a social lubricant. At the end of the day, someone wants to have 2 glasses of wine. It's good, you know, a red wine is good for your heart. Some of us can't do that. Just like peanuts. Peanuts are great. Think of it this way. Peanuts are a great source of protein, but some people have peanut allergies and they can't eat them. It doesn't make peanuts bad. Same thing for strawberries. Some people who have diverticulitis or something like that, they just react badly to it. Not every substance is made for every person. So, and some of the best things in the world can be abused. You can drink too much water and flush out all your electrolytes and die. You know, too much water will kill you. So all I'm saying is at the end of the day, if you really need to do anything about this, I'm willing to help, but there's also, you look in the front of the phone book, there's a group that will be able to help you. Who fuck uses a phone book anymore anyway? You can always Google it, or whatever search engine you use. I don't know how that lexicon got in there and why I just threw that in there. But I know it's ironic. I'm the Keys bartender. I'm telling you, if you have a problem, maybe you can look into it. And I may lose listeners from that. But I really don't care if I lose listeners telling that, because I know there's people that are desperate out there, and they're going to be desperate during these times. There's going to be people hurt and lonely. There's going to be a lot of relationships going to break up during this time. People realize they don't really know the person they live with. This is not, I'm not just talking about alcohol right now. I'm talking about spending all this time alone. But there could be a lot of good stuff to come out of it. There's could be, besides things, sobriety, there could be people growing closer, learning things about themselves. There's going to be a lot of people that, they decide to make a career change. And they may decide to take a new direction with their life. Who knows? When you're faced by it. This is not exactly maybe as cathartic as World War II or anything like that. But there's everyone's in it, and we're going to be able to see, empathize with what people go through and what they went through, and it's going to be a shared experience people have. And when people have shared experiences, they're easier to relate to each other. I mean, if you can actually see somebody who went without food, or if you've not had a house, you've been homeless, or you lost a child, anything like that, people they belong. They start feeling empathizing with each other, and it makes people be, by extension, more kind to each other. So I think that's going to be like one of the benefits we have right here. So for now, this is going to be a little shorter show. This is one of my live shows. I'm going to do almost all live shows from now on until the end of this thing. Hopefully I'll be able to do 2 or 3. I realize a lot of you people, you don't need to listen to me all the time. There's a lot of other things you do. If you want to find, you can learn something new. You can learn. There's a lot of things you can do online. You can learn a new skill. You can educate yourself. You can be one of those people that take medical notes, transcribe notes. You can learn a musical instrument. Like I said, you come sober. You could look into online college programs. There's free courses online to see what you might like and what you might not like. There's all sorts of things, and there's nothing like a little rest period for you to know that. So for now, this is Jim the Keys bartender. I'm going to try to come back to you tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back to you tomorrow, do a live show. Try to do it at, I think we're going to do it at 7 o'clock. I'd like to thank anyone that's listening, and take care, God bless, and stay healthy. Bye.